What is it like to switch from a nearly 4-year-old mid-range smartphone to a brand new flagship in the year 2020? Let me tell you, it's not quite what you think. First and foremost, this isn't an unboxing video, and it primarily highlights my opinion. If you want to watch a stats guide or another video on the topic, you're gonna need to ask the Canadian for his tech tips. Rather, this video is what it was like for me personally to switch from a Galaxy J7 to the Galaxy S20. And there are definitely some expected changes, such as battery life, camera quality, overall speed of the device, and most importantly, software support. There were also some unexpected changes as well, which I'll cover later on. Also keep in mind, I don't see a phone as an accessory or status symbol. I see it more as a tool, much like you would use a car to transport people from point A to point B. Phone to me is something you use to communicate with friends and entertain myself when I can't use my desktop. To start, let's just look at the two devices. The J7 is to the left and the S20 is to the right. The J7 looks ancient compared to the new phone. There's plastic everywhere and it even has physical buttons. The screen is also remarkably smaller, and what's crazy is just how much bigger the S20 feels, even though they're nearly identical in size. You can immediately tell the S20 is newer and more premium. Weight-wise, it's pretty similar. I don't have a kitchen scale, but I don't personally notice any difference between the two. Staying with the theme of looks, the screens are very different as well. It was really amazing just how much detail the new phone had displaying pictures, and even the text looked crisper. Granted, the S20 has a 1440p display versus the 720p display on the J7, so that's not too surprising, but what really got me was the colors. There's just no competition here. The deepest of blacks, the whitest of whites, the greenest of greens, even pictures taken on my old device seem to have some sort of new life on the S20. I mean, seriously, my background almost looks like a high-quality print, just under some glass. And the 120Hz option the S20 boasts is also a huge bonus. I've always really enjoyed higher refresh screens, and I've got 244Hz monitors, but the difference between 60Hz on the J7 and 120 on the S20 is astounding. It makes the jump so much better. However, along with this 120Hz upgrade, the phone runs out of charge a lot quicker than you would expect. Moving on to the cameras, there's a significant difference here too. Not only are the pictures cleaner and overall just better, there's also more options and better software as well. Video stabilization is virtually non-existent on the J7, and night mode was a real nightmare too. I'm sure all my friends will enjoy the better quality Snapchats as well. One problem that I did have was I couldn't really figure out how to use the 30x zoom or which of the three cameras I was using. I know there's a 64 megapixel telephoto camera somewhere, a wide angle one, and a regular main shooter. And I think I figured it out using one of the buttons on the top of the camera app, but I'm not sure. And to be fair, the J7's camera was fairly serviceable. It wasn't great, but you could get some decent photos in the right light. And if you're just posting Instagram photos or sending Snapchats, it's more than good enough. For me personally, I'm not a photographer, and I never post my meals on Instagram or Facebook. So after a few days of messing with the cameras, I finally got bored and stopped, but the slow motion thing is pretty cool. I still use it all the time. Next is the battery. J7 when it first came out had a pretty decent battery life, and over the years it's pretty much dead by the time I turn in for the night. Which is perfectly normal for an old phone, but that being said, it's really nice having a new phone that could last me a little while on a single charge. Another neat option is fast charging. Being able to charge from 0% to over halfway in less than 30 minutes is pretty cool. I don't really use that feature too much, as I generally have about 60% left in it by the time I get home. I generally use my phone for around 2 hours a day, about an hour during breaks at work and an hour at home. Let's now talk about the speed of the device, more specifically how fast it can open apps and switch tasks. And it's a huge difference here as well. Apps like Snapchat, Reddit, YouTube, and practically anything else took a long time to launch in the J7. Sometimes I'd launch my Snapchat, put the phone down, and forget what I was going to do because I just got distracted by something else. Even turning on the phone is a huge difference. With apps getting bigger by the day and the overall CPU demands getting larger, it's great to finally have something new. I mean, seriously, it sometimes takes a minute sending my streak out to Alexander, and there's just no competition between the two. And now let's talk about features. Having a fingerprint scanner and the ability to unlock with my face is great, but I can just as easily live without it. For me, it's just as easy to unlock the phone with a pattern. I do see some potential use cases where if someone has a disability and typing a passcode or doing a pattern could be a little bit hard for them, being able to unlock their phone with their face is likely a godsend. For me personally, I'll use it, but it's not the game changer I thought it would be. However, a feature I really do like is the always-on display. While I don't have my display show a clock 24/7 or anything, the ability to just double tap it to wake up the device is pretty cool. I've always had the bad habit of hitting the power button a million times a day, and this will certainly help keep it alive. Wireless charging is also not a game changer for me. Personally fine plugging in my phone with a cable, and buying a wireless charger to me just doesn't seem like a good investment. I'm sure sometime in the future I might change my mind, but for now, this is the case. 5G is also something that doesn't affect me much where I live. It's not really much of a thing here. I have some of it in my apartment, but when I'm out and about, there's a 50-50 chance I'm not going to be able to get it. Which sucks because the only time I would use that data is when I'm out and about. However, I've done some speed tests and I get 120 megabit down, which is much faster than my internet connection back at home, even through the Wi-Fi. But again, it's not a game changer, but it's pretty cool and can be pretty useful if the 4G LTE isn't fast enough for you. Another thing is the headphone jack, and I'm sure everyone and their dog has an opinion on this, and I'm gonna get comments left and right. But I find the headphone jack to be useful. The primary example is in my car. My stereo is ancient. The only way to play music off my phone is through a 3.5mm jack. So now if I want to play music, I'll need to buy a Bluetooth device for my car that I'll have to charge, or another dongle that I need to keep track of. And if I want to listen to music in bed while charging the phone, I'm going to need to buy wireless earbuds, which then also have to be charged. And I just know that I'm going to forget them all the time. That being said, there's reasons for it disappearing, but whether it's for better water resistance, corporate greed forcing us to buy more crap, or some other reason, I don't really see it coming back, which is somewhat disappointing. Overall, it's been a pretty good time using my new phone. I don't really miss my J7 whatsoever. Everything is faster, better quality, and just easier on the S20. After a week, however, stopped really noticing how much better everything was and kind of got used to it, but I certainly don't miss how long it took to send Snapchats. But there are some issues with the device. I personally don't like having glass everywhere on a phone, even with the Gorilla Glass 8000 or whatever they use. I just don't trust it enough to toss it in a bag or have it survive a fall. Additionally, it just makes it really hard to get a grip on it, which is bad because now I can drop it even easier. I do have a case for it, and that solves a lot of the issues, but I would just really like a more durable phone to begin with. So I don't even have to worry about a case. Just make this back and sides out of aluminum like Apple does, or polycarbonate or something besides glass. I actually prefer the J7's plastic for this reason, and the camera cliff, as I like to call it, is annoying. With a case on, the camera cliff kind of goes away, but with the few short days I didn't have one, it was just stupid. For me, I don't see a reason to have the camera bump. Just make the phone a little bit thicker, and I'm pretty sure no one would mind the extra 2 or 3 millimeters. If you have to make it a selling point that you've crammed a bigger battery in and you had to make it a little bit thicker, pretty sure people would lap it up. I get that cameras need depth, but it's not a good way to solve that issue. Another thing is the camera hole. I find it kind of distracting. My eyes always seem to wander up and stare at it. I seriously would have preferred not to have the screen go all the way to the top in exchange for having a little bit of a lip where the camera and a better speaker can sit. That being said, it's not the biggest issue in the world, and the speakers are pretty decent, but I also think a lot of people would agree with me here. Thin and light is great until it's not. Another slight issue is just how tall it is. I don't think having a bigger phone is always better. Width-wise, it's okay, but I have noticed when I'm trying to drag notifications down from the top, I end up switching to the app screen. This problem is also the result of the camera hole as well, a complete dead. I also manage to hit buttons and the wrong letters when I'm texting all the time as well, because it goes all the way to the edge of the screen. All these things are not huge issues, they're there. It also gets a little warm. Pretty warm, even while doing fairly basic tasks. Now, whether or not that's due to the high refresh rate screen or something, I don't know. But it's not a big issue, just something you should keep aware of. Another thing is the Wi-Fi reception. Now, I'm not 100% on this, but I think it's worse than my J7. My phone just seems to switch to mobile data fairly often, instead of using my home network, which is pretty odd behavior, I think. So if I had a limited data plan, I would be extra keen on ensuring it was using Wi-Fi instead. I did some research and it seems to have something to do with connecting to whatever's the strongest signal, but I'm not sure. The price is another issue. It's $1,000. No way would I ever spend that much, and I just don't find it to be that much better than what I had before. And you can forget buying an S20 Plus or the Ultra, because for those prices, you could buy a much cheaper phone and a fairly competent computer. But Jacob, I hear you scream, you bought the phone, so why are you saying you'd never buy it for that much? Well, it's because I didn't buy it. Long story short, the family was changing carriers from T-Mobile to Sprint, and they were offering a deal with $650 off per device. I paid $360 for this thing. I mean, $360, you'd be crazy not to consider a flagship. Even a lot of the quote-unquote mid-range devices are generally not as cheap. Ultimately, for the price I did pay, it was a pretty decent upgrade. The bottom line is, I enjoy my phone much more than the old one, but not so much so that I would pay the $1,000 MSRP. Sure, it's flashy, but come on. $1,000? That's easily a month's paycheck for someone my age, and a significant purchase for just about anyone. I'd personally just hold on to my old device and just wait until the S20 goes on discount in a year or so. But again, the S20 is just much more usable than the old one. It's faster, better, and even the camera takes amazing photos. And the 5G is also a neat feature, but I was ultimately expecting to be wowed a little bit more by the thing, considering the leap in technology 4 years can make. This has been in one form or another my personal experience moving from a Galaxy J7 to a Galaxy S20. Obviously, I will have forgot to mention something, but that is what it is. If you liked the video, like it, subscribe. If you have a suggestion for something, leave a comment. I know this isn't my typical kind of content, but I saw the opportunity and I wanted to make a video on the subject. Insert a typical YouTuber sign off here.